Okay, and we are live. So, welcome everyone to Sipping Thoughts Movie Club discussion on Netflix original series Delhi Crime. This series is based on Nirbhaya rape case and it shows the case from the perspective of the Delhi police. The series also won the Best Drama Series Award at the 48th International Emmy Awards. And along with, while discussing about the movie, because we don't review, we discuss as well. So, discussing about this series, we also have IPS Chhaya Sharma with us, who is the former DCP South District of Delhi Police. She led the 41 member team and solved the Nirbhaya rape case. Chhaya Sharma is also the first Indian police officer to receive McCain Award for courage and leadership in solving humanitarian and societal issues, and from the Arizona State University, US. And she's currently posted as the director at Central Vigilance Commission in Delhi. So we're really excited to have her with us and discuss more about the series as well as the case and everything, and have this conversation. One thing we would like to tell you all that we have kept everyone on unmute. You can unmute yourself and join the conversation. So let's begin by talking about the series. And one thing we can all agree is that it's real and it's very hard hitting. The gory details and everything, the makers have not shied away from putting everything out there. And when I was watching it, it just it's about the case, so many details about it, you have read about it, you might have seen the other documentaries and all that were made on it. But when you see these series, firstly the perspective that it is shown from the perspective of Delhi police, the investigation and everything, and also the you know it's very real and hard hitting, and many people actually said that they have not watched the series because of all the gory details that it showed, which just shows its power. So, Sukiti ma'am, what would you like to say? You have seen it and you reviewed it for us last year
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, I saw it as soon as it came out, and I saw it because I wanted to see, can a movie really make a difference? And when you see a series like Delhi Crime, of course, we remember 2012. I had just moved to India, so maybe it did hit me, and it hit me very hard. So the series, they do say, is 60 to 65% based on the truth, and a lot of it, of course, is dramatized and probably fictionalized. But it is very gruesome and it is really difficult to watch. And I remember, and I watch a lot of TV and I watch a lot of series. So many times I told my husband, I think I'm going to really turn this off because I cannot watch it anymore. But I had to continue to understand just how soulless the perpetrators of the Nirbhaya rape crime was. I found it difficult, but I can't even imagine the people, especially like IPS Chhaya Sharma, that were there, that had to actually see it firsthand. I can't even imagine what they went through when just watching a movie gave me the shivers. It also made me realize what a privileged lot we are. We are living really a privileged life. And we forget how vast Delhi society is. There is a very different sort of population that is actually living throughout Delhi. And the slightest provocation can hit, and I'm not talking at any society level, at the male ego. And what's next? The desire for revenge and gruesome, unheard of manner. The heinous incident, it shook really the conscience of the entire nation. It sent out waves of fear, and that fear we are still feeling till today. It is not like this fear died 2012, 2013. We are feeling the fear till now. But I hope when I saw the movie, I think it will make a difference. For me, I was really impressed with the police team. I was impressed with the way the case was handled. I was impressed with the way, how quickly actually we were able to catch the perpetrators. But it reminds us again that safety of women needs to be a priority. So those were my key takeaways from this series.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, and actually a record in terms of the solving of the case. In 5 days, the case was solved and everything. So, Harshita, would you like to share your views? Something from a younger perspective, and I'm sure there might be something that you would like to talk as well.
I really liked the series. The thing that I liked the most was the reality that was shown, that depicted. And being a woman, I felt like it must have been very tough for Chaya ma'am to face that the pain that girl had. It's very tough to listen to all those things. And like, yeah, I liked it, and I was really shook when I saw it.
So I think we should take the conversation to Chaya ma'am and Sukriti ma'am.
So, Chaya, ji, I'm sure you get this asked a lot because a lot of us, of course, remember the news. But because the series just came out last year, we've seen the fictionalized version. But we would like to know, how close was it to reality? Was there anything related to the investigation or the case that you feel was missed out or not highlighted enough? And what would you like to tell us about it?
Um, Thank you for having me on Sipping Thoughts. Sukriti has been
I've
following me
been
up
chasing you.
closely. Has been following me up very closely. I'm not very easily accessible, and I'm not, due to my work, kind of very free. But she has been very persistent, and thank you for having me over. Uh, to answer your question, that see, a lot of it was shown was the truth. So like somebody said 65%, and I would put it at 85%, 80 to 85%, because there is a lot of problem when you're depicting the real on the reel, and you have to do character amalgamations. Like, for example, my daughter is now turned 18, but in that series it is already shown as if she was in the 12th standard or something. So it was basically a character amalgamation they had adopted, that they wanted a young girl to be questioning the protagonist. So they, the questions or the things that Pratibha, the sub inspector's daughter, or the CP's daughter, um, or my daughter, all the three of them were amalgamated, and how they were questioning their parents, all was put in that Yashaswari Damini's thing. So that one character. Similarly, there are a lot of raids which different officers did, and then they amalgamated it to one person. So like that, a lot of it got amalgamated. So you can't show a very big team, on all their work. So like that, I think they had to cut bits, and they had to focus on a few things. And but still, I will say that they tried to show the emotion and the problems we all faced, and the real troubles that a team which is going on raids and on a very tight time leash. It's very difficult for them to show that on screen, and what all we were going on in our personal lives and on professional lives is difficult. But I think they did a fairly good job, because all of you understood. And the one message that got across was that the police does a lot of good work, and this good work did get reflected, not only in terms of catching the perpetrators, because like in every movie, the film ends at catching the
Bad
villain.
guys.
Yeah, so here for us also, people think, okay, now they've caught the criminals, the movie ends for us. Actually, the police work starts after we catch. This is just the detection part of it. The investigation starts after that, and that is also very critical. So probably we'll need another few seasons to finish all that, but I don't think we'll be able to go into that area. But people do not understand that the humongous amount of paperwork, and the amount of time management, and appearances in courts, in various courts, that we have to do while we are doing this. We think that one IO has a lot of time in the world, and if there's one IO in the case, that probably that one IO has nothing else to do except this. Maybe there are other constraints, like we were handling the dharnas also, we were handling other things also. So all this combined, I think it cannot be shown in a 7.5 hour series. I appreciate the makers that they even managed to do, because a lot of people said it should have been just a 3 hour movie, but a 3 hour movie would not have been able to do justice to a lot of things. So I think they've kept the heart was in the right place. And the good part was that very few movies want to show the good work police did. They are more interested in showing the Simbas and the Rambo kind of people, but that's not the truth.
So I think one of the things that all of us, especially me, you were the memorable character from the movie. So kudos to that. I hand it back to you, Damini.
Yeah, so ma'am, you've talked about, the dharnas and everything. And at that time, we know that, I was in college and we were following this thing. And there was a lot of pressure from media and, public also at that time. So how did you and your team, you keep your composure at that time while solving such a case? And does these things, related to, the pressure that is coming from media and public, do they have any effect on the case, on your investigation? Did they have any effect on the investigation?
Like, for example, let me clarify. See, as police officers, we are not answerable to media, and very few people understand that. Media may keep saying things one way or the other, but we're not answerable to them. We are only answerable to the courts. So sometimes a media's house or media can, uh, start a rumor and about the case, and then we are forced to answer sometimes, but we're not obliged to. So when we address the media, or the media's issues are only those where we feel that they are as we need to give a press briefing to cut down the rumors, or we need to give the press briefing to ensure that the correct perspective is there. Any other information that we share, we're not bound to share. So, as professional police officers, we know the media's role. As long, ever since we did our training, we know that we're going to get affected by this. So we're not bothered. We're really not bothered, and uh, it does. People come and tell us. Media people also call up and ask us, so we know what's going around. And only when we feel the need that we need to explain, because if I started answering all those questions, and if I started reacting to every news that the media had, then who will do my work? So there is you have to have that perspective correctly. And media has this role to sensationalize things, to even make it bigger than what it is. And though in this case it was macabre, but somehow a lot of details about the victim's wounds and about her personal details could have been avoided. But then, at times the media gets into frenzy. You can't explain things to them. You can't, so you, at best, what you can do is you do your job professionally and with calm and composure. And that is the most important thing. Because eventually, if we lost our composure then and we start reacting to media, then today I may not be part of this interview.
No, so true. But it was very hard, I mean, disturbing for us to see Jyoti, even hear about the details of the case, your interaction with her and her family during the course of the investigation. How did you manage your emotions, and what was going through your mind? Because for us as women, as people that are just bystanders, we couldn't even hear some of those gruesome details.
um, See, I have always had a very victim centric approach. If I don't meet the victim, if I don't meet the family of the victim, then probably sometimes I'm not able to understand that what are the real issues, because there is a communication channel. आप बोलते कुछ हैं, सुनते कुछ हैं, वो बताते कुछ हैं, आपको वो filter होके आता है. So there is a lot of communication gap. So whenever there is an important case or a heinous case, I make it a point to meet the victim, to meet the family. And in this case also, I was there at around 2:30 in the Safdarjung hospital. The parents had not come by that time. Parents had come by that time, so I had met them. And then, but before meeting the parents, I had met the person who was with her in the bus. So because we needed leads, she had already gone into the minor OT by then, and the doctor said that she's not fit for statement right now. So already, we needed to meet the family. But you see, family is in a traumatic stage, and at that stage we need to calm them down. We need to support them and help them. The only way we could have done was, make sure that uh, that that they know what we're doing, what is going on. Because if you leave the victim and say, oh, I'm just going to do the case, I'm very professional, and you leave the victim in lurch or the family in lurch, then what happens is that somebody else will tell them a story, they will believe it, and then we'll say probably police to kuch kar nahi rahi, which also then generates negative perception. So I had one officer, Benita Mary Jecker, who had been a trainee with me and had recently been posted as ACP Defense Colony, just fresh out of the oven. So I told, and she looked, it was more closer to age with Nirbhaya. So I requested her. I said, you come and you stay with the family, and because I will have to go to the police station and help with supervise the investigation. So you keep giving me the feedback, because if you tell a old inspector, after some time he will, over the years you develop the insensitivity. But for a young officer, young IPS officer, the insensitivity is not there. They're very sensitive, and she was also herself a lady so she could identify with the victim. So I told her that you be with the family, and as you must have seen in the thing that she has performed the role, uh, they have brought out that fact also. It really helped me because she gave me all one-to-one information. And for me, the moment I went, I hugged the mother, I told her that don't worry, I'm there. The interaction with Nirbhaya came a day later, the next day, when she was in a state to talk to me. And I met her. I went into the ICU and met her and told her that I'm the officer who will be looking after her case. So the one thing that I realized was that she's a young girl, was full of hope, who had recently, finished her education, and was wanting to, look at life in a more colorful way. And here she was lying in a hospital bed and not understanding whether she will recover or not recover. But she was full of, hope. And she told me, "Oh, ma'am, I've seen you on TV, and I'm so glad you're taking up my case, and please ensure that none of these people get." No. And the descriptions she gave me also helped me, in my analysis of how we had to go about in the case. So all this really helped. But to for every officer, police officer, it is very important that the victim we connect with, because if you don't connect with the victim, you don't connect with the sad or the good part of the victim, then it becomes a little difficult.
That's my next question. Do you feel that because you were a woman, you were a mother, that not only did you feel the constant pressure of the case at a personal level, also not only professionally, and because you were a woman, that you actually were able to do this in record time because it was so close to your understanding and familiarity?
Can you repeat the question?
Because you were a woman and a mother, did you feel the pressure to solve this case not only professionally but also personally?
Yeah. I think it's not just personal or professional. One has to be very professional about it. The point is that there are times when you are stuck. You have the professional part of you who has to do the job, and then on a personal level, you have a daughter, you are yourself a lady, so you connect and you feel bad about it. But that time your professional part of you should overtake you. And I also did the same thing, and I realized that if I start feeling bad for her like a woman, then probably I'll break down. And this was not the time for me to break down, because I was heading the district that was supposed to solve the case. And so I just took all my emotion inside, and I made sure that I'm going to handle this. And you're leading a pack of men. So when you're leading men, it's not very comfortable for a woman to, break down. And then that is a sign of weakness. So they can't see a weak leader. They can't follow a weak leader. And these are times when sometimes very tough calls have to be taken. So one has to make sure that the whatever you're doing professionally. Years of experience, should make you that tough. So here, I think that is what helped me. And obviously on a personal level you do connect. It's natural, it's psychological. And I am myself a young woman from Delhi. I was a young woman from Delhi. I have a daughter who's young. So you connect. You have sisters who could have gone through this same thing, and you would not have been able to do anything. So those are the times that the personal connect is always there. Because there is something called, it's not sympathy. I mean, like how I connect with the victim is on a empathetical level. And there, that inspires me, that inspires my professional self. So I think that part is very important.
Thank you. That's, yeah.
Right. So, I have a question. You and your team dedicated their day and night in solving the case in record time. It was solved. The charge sheets and everything were filed. It's known to be in a record time as well. Even after so much, it took almost 7 years for Nirbhaya to get justice, due to the judicial proceedings. What was going through your mind at that time, those 7 years after solving the case, catching the perpetrators and everything, and between the judicial proceeding, what was going?
You see, it's a very long route. I'm aware that its judicial processes take very long. But you have to understand that this once we solved the case solved as in we detected the case in 18 hours. and we caught all the perpetrators in 6 days. We filed our first charge sheet in 18 days. And the case was completely wrapped up, and people coming from outside and everything, all of it got finished, and the court started the fast track court started the trial very fast. And by the time it was September of 2013, that is about 9 months, they had given their judgment. So to that extent, some of the cases don't even reach that level. So that was one little victory that we had during this process. Then we have to go to the High Court. So it was September 2013 that the Sessions Court gave their verdict. But the Sessions verdict of death sentence and of conviction was a small victory. The High Court was, if the High Court doesn't give you a stamp and say, yes, whatever the Sessions Court has said, you can go ahead with it, and the death penalty is agreed to, um, it's not really, a victory. So we had to work hard with that also. So it kept us engaged. We knew about the ups and downs which was going on. And then we reached a stage where High Court also a double bench order. It took out in 2014 February and March. Very nice order, and they confirmed the death sentence. And then I think it was in 2017. In May, the Supreme Court, after a very detailed hearing which was given to the accused, and a very long fight, we managed to get the death sentence from the Supreme Court. Now, when that happens, there is still a lot of procedure which has to be done, because they have to give the chance to the accused to represent and put forward their point of views judicially as a process. As over the years, it is part of a criminal jurisprudence. So all that happened. But I think in 2017, when the Supreme Court accepted the investigation that had been done, it was very meticulous, and they gave their final order in May 2017 and confirmed the death sentence. I think that was a big victory. So for me, I knew that it will end in death sentence eventually. So for a person who knows the law and who's been following cases, I knew that this was a real victory. Later on, it could have gone, it could not have gone in any other direction after that. So for most people who think it is 7 years, for me, it was like by 17 May, it had happened. Another thing was that, yes, the parents and the family were a little worried. Every time there would be a hearing, they would call me and they would say, ab kya hoga, ab kya hoga. So I think the catch is that they should have good lawyers who can brief them. We also ensured that our inspectors and sub inspectors who they were in touch with, or they were in touch with me, we kept briefing them and telling them that now you don't have to worry, because now it is not them versus the accused. It is now the state versus the accused. So that difference occurs. So they only appeal to the state that give us don't give us death penalty, etc., etc. So those are the things that I think we need to be careful about. And but for me, it was like, I wish it had happened a little earlier. But I still feel, though the due process of law is very long, it's still something which I would like to go for, rather than making them all stand in a line and kill them, which we could have done very easily. So that kind of that vigilante justice, I do not this thing. We gave all of them a chance to prove themselves not guilty, and then they got the punishment. So this is what we live for. We are not living in a pagan state of affairs. So I think that I'm satisfied with that, because I am a law-abiding person and I'm a law-abiding citizen. So I think this opportunity has to be given on the human rights perspective, on a perspective where there's a natural justice, that odi altrum partem. We had to hear their version also. So we've heard their version, we've proved them wrong, and then we've gone ahead with it. So I think it took some time, but fair enough. I think we eventually managed to get justice for Nirbhaya, and very nicely. Nobody can now lay a finger on the evidence or in the process or any other on our investigation that way.
So, ma'am,
I
you
hope I.
mentioned death penalty. What are your views on death penalty? It has been a very debatable topic during the Nirbhaya case. So, do you think like death punishment or capital punishment reduce the crimes, such crimes?
See, that's of
Same
course.
question.
Yeah, but that's of
Same
course.
question.
See, that's a little debatable, because in certain cases, one feels that even at personally and professionally, if death sentence is not awarded, then what happens is that the victim doesn't feel satisfied. Victim feels that मेरे साथ इतना सब कुछ हुआ और ये लोग scot free चले गए. Now, does that does the death penalty or the worst form of punishment lead you to prevention of crime? See, there will be maybe a 30-40% people on whom we will be able to put fear of God, and we will be able to say, see, the law is very strict, and eventually you will get caught, and you will not go scot free. But then there will always be perverts, idiots, people who are low on IQ, who have just carnal desires to fulfill, who have no aim in life. They are all going to be those people who will not bother about. It's like a child, who's not going to bother about what punishment you give me. I will continue to do it because I get a kick out of it. So that is a debatable. On a personal level, I feel it has to be decided on a case-to-case basis by the courts, and on our part, what we can do is make sure that we give them a watertight evidence for that. That's the best we can do as police officers. And I'm sure the judiciary in India is quite sensible, and in many cases they have given death penalty.
True.
Ma'am, I have a question. Firstly, I must
Yeah.
express to you that I have tremendous respect and regard for you as a lady officer, as a lady who commanded after seeing the series. And it is very, very heartening to know that there are officers like you who are present, who will, ensure that the justice happens eventually. Ma'am, I work for an organization called the Inner Wheel Club, which is ladies who work together to give back to society. We work across various projects and various topics. One of the topics is we, go and talk to young girls, or we go and talk to middle-aged, teenagers or in their 20s. And recurringly, what comes up is their concern for their security. They are now stepping out, they are working, there are night shifts involved. And repeatedly, they keep asking us for tips on how they can remain safe. I mean, calling police is one option. But by the time they reach, they want something which, could help them ensure that they are able to get themselves out of the situation. So, any tips that you can share that we can further through talking, just tell them or refer to them so that they are a little
See, I think
empowered
you know
to,
to
help
uh,
themselves.
I don't think so. None of us are actually completely empowered to protect ourselves and to keep ourselves safe. What I feel is a different approach that probably parents, relatives, and friends, they have to form a continuous counseling thing, because what happens is that if we continue to understand, oh, just because we are women, I can wear anything and I can walk out in whatever dress I want. Fine, fair enough, do it. But is your society ready for it? Can you handle the perverts who are there outside, who will not understand the difference between that? There is no difference between a girl wearing a mini skirt and a girl wearing a sari, or a girl wearing a salwar suit. They have no difference for that. So for us, when we're dealing with criminals and we go into the psyche of these criminals, uh, the only issue is that I would like to say is that there is something that you will have to do for yourself. Like, every time smartness doesn't mean that being beautiful or being in fashion doesn't mean that I have to dress in a particular way and only then I will be. So, and people who are wearing saris also get raped. So I think both logics can be given. So the one is that, yes, I mean, there has to be this constant counseling, constant, somebody has to be kept informed. A lot of these local police initiatives have now been focused towards creating an app where there are these, you can press a button and somebody can respond to it, or the PCR van in 3 minutes will reach you. So there are lots of areas where police is trying to make that difference, where they're trying to reduce the response time and increase the approach which police has in terms of responding to cases where women's security is an issue. But having said that, I think most of it has to be handled on a personal level, on in terms of what times I'm going out. If I'm going out late, I'm not saying don't go out late, but there are precautions one can take. One can keep your family informed. You reach somewhere, you inform them. When you're leaving, you inform them. don't drink. There are these drugs now which are not now. I think they've been there for quite some time. I've been in police now 20 years, so I've been hearing about it for a very long time. So if a person offers you a drink and you're going unattended, I mean, you're going alone, and some boys offer you a drink. So not to take drinks like that, because even soft drinks can be, you know,
Mm.
laced with drinks, and you may have no memory of a whole night what happened with you, and the next day you maybe not you would not even know what happened with you, so you can't even give evidence. However, you may be finding yourself in a state where it will not be you may not be able to explain to yourself. So these precautions only we'll have to take. Just a lot of people, there are movies now who are, giving you scenarios like Pink and, like, so many other movies, that there can be situations where you say no after getting into a situation, and the other persons don't understand that no. They don't understand the difference that when a woman says yes and when a woman has now started feeling uncomfortable. So when you are with, company, are you in safe company? Are they dependable people? Are they people whom your parents know about? And so a lot of things matter. And there was a case of a girl which she would go out every day and she would inform her mother and everything, and on one particular day she didn't do. And the mother sent out an alarm and everything, and we were able to trace her because of her following a same pattern of route which her mother gave us, and it was because of it is all documented in Google that it was possible. So now there can be various scenarios. Idea is that how you keep yourself safe. Another level of this question would be on a societal level. Are we training our boys to respect women? The whole societal level of, a whole generation of men, how they treat women. I'm not just talking of young boys. There are older men who still don't understand that women need to be given more respect, or their no has to be taken for a no. And uh, their lot of harassment at workplace and all can reduce if they understand that the women are here to stay. They are going to come out, they are going to work, they are more educated. So it doesn't mean that you have to see them like a pound of flesh, but you have to see them as a person who can say no, that I want to work, but I don't want to have a affair with you. So like a lot of things. So this is on a psychological and a sociological level. Can we handle that? And how long will we take for a paradigm shift to occur? So these are issues which are debatable. I can't give you a quick fix solution for that.
So, ma'am, coming to Delhi Crime, the series, when you found out that Richie Mehta, director, writer of Delhi Crime, they wanted to make a series on Nirbhaya investigation. So, what was your reaction on that? And also, you should, as you mentioned in the starting itself, that how movies and series show police officers as either as Singham or as corrupt officials and all. So what was going through your mind when you found out that someone wants to make a series like that? And did you ever, and people have called Delhi crimes, there are some people who have called Delhi crime as being biased towards police. Okay, so what is your take on that?
First of all, I'll answer the last part. So, what's wrong in being biased towards police? I mean, if there can be all sorts of bad stories, there can be one good story also. So, and my only take was, when I agreed to cooperate with the makers, was that if you're going to make a positive police story, I'm with you. If you're not, then I have nothing to do with you, because we really worked our backs off to get where we are. And it was really, for all of us, the entire team, it was earth shattering, and we were like, it's like a race against time. So it was very difficult, so we didn't want to squander that thing. And as far as your question about when I first met Rishi, see, I did not know Rishi from Adams. He was introduced to me by my ex-boss, that time my commissioner, Mr. Neeraj Kumar. So probably he knew him, and he invited him to do this movie. He had seen a couple of his other movies, short movies, and he invited him because he found him to be a very sensitive guy, and he wanted to make a movie on police. So he said that why not on this case, Nirbhaya? So initially, I believe he was a little uncomfortable, and then when he said, okay, why don't you talk to people? But by the time I had left for Mizoram, I was not in Delhi. So he started talking to all my colleagues and all the people that the commissioner introduced him to. And after speaking to everybody, he said, have you spoken to Chhaya, ma'am? So he was saying, who is this Chhaya that I haven't met? And why everybody keeps referring to her, and I was nowhere to be found in Delhi. So he contacted me. Then I was not interested because there were a lot of journalists who would call me and say, we want to write a book. We want you to give us an exclusive interview, what inside story and what all. And I was like, sorry, I'm not interested. And I thought he was one of those characters. And some people wanted to make a documentary out of it, and um, some researchers wanted to do some work, so I was not interested, so I just said thank you. Then after, I thought he was like one of them. So my commissioner called me and said, Chaya, this is a guy I really want you to meet and see if you can help him. And probably if you give your inputs, it will be better for him, and he'll get the correct perspective on the case. And since you have had a whole bird's eye view and you were involved from day one. So then I took his call, and then I said, it's better that we meet. So whenever once, then I think I came down to Delhi for something and we met. So that was the time I met. And I found that he was a very sensitive guy, and he was willing to understand the police perspective of things, so telling a story in a different sense, because it's very easy to start finding holes in things and in anybody's hard work, and say that in spite of the fact that we've got a death sentence with us by that time, the death sentence had occurred. So he said that even if you have even because we felt that even if it had a death sentence, he said, so what? I mean, police did a bad job here. Police did a bad job there. He could have done anything. But I found that he was very sensitive. And he immediately saw that it was a woman-led team for a woman who was the victim. And there were a lot of women like Pratibha and all who were there, who were very sharp, and the first IO of the case, Pratibha. So he realized that the amount of effort police takes to solve a case is not just limited to um, just doing a case professionally, but a lot of human angle, a lot of personal effort, and things are gone inside, and a lot of time and energy, which has no respect outside the police realm. Nobody bothers to even wonder. Everybody thinks that police has two antennas. They know everything, and but we are just like you, and maybe we have been trained, but then training doesn't give you everything, and then everybody can solve the case. Why doesn't all the other teams solve it? So it is a lot of personal grit and determination that go into it, and he was willing to bring that out, and to that extent then I agreed. Okay.
Good
Same,
evening, Chaim.
uh,
Good
so
evening,
talk,
ma'am. Chaim.
yeah, Praveen has a question, for us.
I want to just add one thing, if I may.
Sure.
uh, just want to add one thing. You asked me about that, you mentioned about the Singham thing. uh, I really feel that I don't, as a police officer, have to throw people or cars, and to really assert myself. So if you are confident, if you know your job well, if you think you're a good professional, and things happen. It's just that you don't have to do Singham like things. And if you see, some of them are just like that inspector level. So even our inspectors, if you see, they're very decent people, and it's the paperwork eventually which speaks in a court of law. None of these histrionics will help a victim in any way. So that's all I want to say.
Good evening, ma'am Chaya. I have a query for you. First of all, uh, I have a huge respect and regard for you for the commendable work that you have. Kudos to your work and the type of work that you have been doing. But while I appreciate and applaud your efforts in this, I have a query on the cinematic representation of this. My query is, do you support the way the gory facts have been highlighted and shown in detail? My personal opinion on this is, pardon me for using this term, it's like glorifying the trauma and the whatever the victim has undergone, and by doing this we are giving more scope to the perverts to have more ideas. See, their mental level is different. So aren't we exposing them to more ideas?
Have you
What do
seen
you
this?
have to say on this?
Have you seen the series, entire
Yes, yes, I
series?
have, I have, I have. That is why.
Uh, my friends, most of them have a very different view, and I agree with them.
Yeah.
They feel that they were very scared to watch it because they thought that the actual scene, the bus scene, will be depicted. You know, so the first thing that is not depicted. That is an issue which we told them that please, we do not want you to show what happened in the bus in a gory way. Okay. Now, if we do not talk about the crime, then you cannot understand the trauma or the tribulations of a police officer when they hear it verbatim. So you can't say ki, I want a movie to be realistic, but I don't want to hear about the trauma. I don't want to hear about actually what happened on the case. So when we have in this film, actually Rishi should have been here to defend this part of the question, but I'll defend it to this extent that I like the fact that they didn't glorify the rape or this thing, but they have to show what happened and what is the mentality and the kind of macabre thinking that these people have. And if we don't show it by showing their statements or even a certain part where they've shown Nirbhaya how difficult it was for her to speak. She had 13 bite marks and all over her body, and this is in addition to other injuries she had for which she was being operated. So you can understand what a girl her age would be going through. So if you don't depict that, then how will you understand what a policeman goes through? When policemen go and pick up bodies, when we part of the when we are part of the postmortem or whatever, nobody bothers to find out that what exactly we went through. But we all go through a lot of dehumanizing, and if you don't show this part, the dirty part of it, that what we are doing, this is actually a part and parcel of it, and we don't have to hear it once. We sometimes have to hear the same thing 5 times, 15 times, and 50 times, and then it is again repeated by the defense lawyers and discussed threadbare. ऐसा हुआ था, वैसा हुआ था, यहाँ क्यों नहीं करा, आप बस में कैसे रेप हो सकता है, lot of things. So to understand an incident, if you do not discuss the incident even in a secondary way, then how are you going to solve the case? It's like not knowing where you're treading. I can sit in a room and work on a it's called, I think, you just sit in a room and you say, okay, I will solve the case. It doesn't happen like that. You have to go to the spot. You have to meet the people. You have to go through the trauma they went. That is what I meant when I said empathizing. And that is part of, when you go to the scene of crime, sometimes you almost feel as if, you know it's happening here. So all those things, if you don't feel, so I don't think, I'm sorry, I do not agree with you that it is in any way glorifying the trauma or encouraging any pervert. Because if you don't tell the perverts that we have a team here which can do wonders, and whatever you think that you think you may not be caught, maybe there's a lot of anonymity on your side, you'll still get caught. So, and even if it takes 7 years or 15 years, you will be hanged. So I think that message needed to go strong. And even my weakest constable should send the message that we will get you, as a team we will get you. I hope I made my point.
Chaya ma'am, I have one question. May I ask?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the series also focused on one point that there is a huge shortage of police officers and many of them are overworked.
Mm.
So, can you please comment on this fact? What are your opinion related to this?
Um, can you just repeat the question? Hello? Can you just repeat the question?
Nikita asked that there's a huge shortage of police officers, which also the series highlighted. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, and many of them are also overworked. They are doing work for many hours without sleeping at nights.
See, that is a reality we all are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. I'm now in CVC. Earlier, I was in NHRC. Before that, I was in Mizoram Police. Then I was in Delhi Police. Everywhere there will be shortage. There will be shortage. They will be overworked. There will be issues. So till that time, if the government or probably things are not in place the way you wanted, it's like you have, despite these problems, you can't say that I just because I have these problems we can't handle crime or we will not be able to handle crime. You do your best in the prevailing circumstances. So I'm not saying that these issues are not there. Wherever you go, in whichever police department you go, or even in if you go to MCD, you will probably hear somebody cribbing that हमारे पास तो enough लोग नहीं है. So this problem will always be there. And for me, more important was to have a motivated bunch of officers who were willing to every time take a call, and even in the middle of the night if I called them, they were willing to stand up. That was more important. So sometimes a handful of men who are motivated are more important than having thousands in your army, and they will not be able to do anything. So and you're not being able to manage them on a one-to-one basis. So it is very important that we understand about man management here. There are issues, I'm not denying that, but they have to be handled, and we have to work in the with the that's about managing with limited resources. So one has to take care of that.
Okay. So Shipra, we've sent you a request to unmute. Please unmute yourself. Uh,
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, first of all, thank you for your valuable comments and experience share with us. Actually, I'm working from working in Gujarat and based native my Agra. And personally, I feel my parents due to Delhi crime shifted me to Gujarat. I got admission in DU, and then also I had completed my master. Since last 15 years I'm in Gujarat. And then also, so can we change this type of perspective? Feel like girls are safe in Gujarat, not in Delhi. Possibilities are there. Like I'm seeing, like as I flew from Rajkot to Delhi, and night I dropped. So sometimes I feel like my parents are confident enough. So can we see change this type of scenarios, or what we can say socially mentalities?
You see, media creates a lot of perceptions. I'm a Delhi girl. I've been brought up here. I was a middle class background. It's not that my parents had a lot of resources that they would give me a car and a driver everywhere. So we had to take buses and we had to go and travel and study here. So there are issues that one will have to face with, and every city is as safe or unsafe as it gets. Perception that the media creates is, I can't do anything about it. And the maximum we can do is that what when we are like heading a unit, we can make sure that the at least people get that perception that we are available, we be available for them. Increase police presence in areas where we feel that there is a more tendency of women related crimes that can take place. So those things we can take care of. We can make sure that the modes of travel like buses or public metros and all are more safer for women, more CCTVs, more those people can be put over there who are who are like, for example, we have these in metro, we have the CRPF and the CISF sometimes doing a mock exercise. So just or even the Delhi police people who are part of the metro, sometimes just sending female constables. So I think those kind of exercises one can do to try and make a city safe. There are lots and lots of women here who are day in and day out going out to work and come back. uh, Perception wise, if you say ki how in Delhi's perception can be changed from a, it's like those people who stay in Delhi don't want to go out anywhere. It's not because of it's safe or unsafe for a city. They have reasons for it. But media wants to create a particular thing, then it's up to them. So media, I mean the newspapers, and they want to create something like that. They like to sensationalize things. There are a lot of female reporters. They are working. They go back late. they're working late. And when we ask them, they say, oh, it's okay, we manage, we're fine. And they have to sometimes travel all the way to Noida and come back to their place on, the west of Delhi they are staying, but they can't leave a job and they have to do travel. So they are finding it safe and okay to be here. So idea is that we have to be careful about our safety. I'm not discounting that, but at the same time, targeting a city as being safe or unsafe on the basis of media reports, that's a little unfair, and perceptions take a while to change.
Chayati, can I ask a follow-up on that? But the crime rate, I mean, of course, we keep hearing, and the crime rate against women doesn't seem to die down. And so mothers, I mean, I hear this everywhere. Mothers are continuously worried if their daughters are not home before dark. So I am echoing this because, I mean, I can say, yes, maybe this is a perception, but this is actually a real fear. This is a real fear with all my friends that I see around me.
Ma'am, say what, almost 30 years ago, when I was a little girl here, my parents did worry. I had a timeline of 9 o'clock. Any birthday party you go to will not start before 8. And my parents would say, nothing doing, you have to be back at 9. So it's like these things will always be there. You will always be, girls, for girls, you'll be a little extra careful. But I feel nowadays, even boys need to be careful because there is a lot of, it's just that children have to understand that you have to inform your parents where you're going, who you're going with, whose house is it safe, is it okay to have a night out. There are lots of my friends who also worry. The other thing I want to say is that to say about one city or another city, uh, there are a lot of Delhi police on its part is doing a lot of work. We have these apps, the Himmat app and the other apps which locally also police DCPs are contacting, and they're making sure that the response is there. Then there is this PCR. We have so many PCR vans. I'm sure no other city has that many PCR vans, because anybody, if you try just make 100 number call in some other city, that kind of response may not be there. Except I think UP has done an exceptional job at by call 100, and more often than not, women are also using it as a response mechanism, that you just call 100, and they will track you down with GPS and reach you. The vehicle which is closest will reach you. The other thing is, a lot of women, when we were growing up and we were learning, I was learning martial arts, and I remember one teaching that my martial art guru told me was that he said that, okay, we are teaching you martial arts now, you can break somebody's head, you know where the solar plexus is, you know where to hit somebody and make them immobile, but that doesn't mean that you become Jackie Chan, okay? So he used to never understand what he meant. So he used to explain. He says, देखो, आपको ये सब सिखाया जा रहा है to get that 3 minute, 3 second, to the 3 minute window. In this 3 minutes, when the person is shocked by your response, run away to safety. Get somebody to, help you. You can't take a load of, you can't say 7 guys and I am alone and I will handle everybody because I've got a green belt or a black belt. But yeah, confidence is important. There are some girls who won't even fight, and that becomes a problem. But it's like, you fight, but at the same time, ensure that will you be able to stand it after 5 minutes? You see, bouts and all also last only 3 minutes. A lot of energy it's taken. So people don't go into that. They very easily take a stand and form a perception, and it's convenient for them, so they go on talking about it. But if you see hardcore, if you see hard, a lot of times we feel that women are making mistakes themselves, and falling in trouble, uh, where somebody will say, oh, she's saying it because she's in the police and all that. But we've had those. I've grown up in Delhi, and there were times if I didn't call up my father, it would be like hell for us. We had to tell him where we were. We had to tell him if we were late. We had to tell him in advance that we will be late, and this time we will reach. So till we didn't reach, he was outside. So these are the, and then we were warned never do this again. So a lot of things, you adjust your timings according to the thing where you can handle things in a situation or a place which is safe. So you also have to create a safe world around you. A lot of these, if you have seen recently newspaper items, a lot of women constabulary or women sub-inspectors are being recruited by Delhi police. So there is a perception that if you have more women police, you'll probably they will be able to handle crime better. I think it is not true. But for perception management, it is important. Whenever they will ask us, oh, we have so recruited so many women police, and people get satisfied. Oh, so now this city became safe because the number of police women are more. It doesn't happen like that. Whether a policeman or a woman, the response mechanism will be same because we are following a SOP. And if the SOP needs to be changed, we should change the SOP. Then what is the government doing it? We have a 600 crore Nirbhaya fund. But what are you doing on ground to make things safer for women? So somebody should ask them that, what is being done on ground? uh, it's been like what, so many years, more than 8 years, and what has happened to the Nirbhaya fund? So these are the questions which are being asked, and which, from governments, and things to be safe. I remember one politician saying that we will be putting CCTV in buses in Delhi so that it becomes safer for women. I have not seen any CCTV in any bus as of now. Why does it not happened in so many years? So no questions, but like it has to be a collective effort, collective effort where it's not about changing perception, it is about making women safe. And as far as laws are concerned, even after Nirbhaya, laws have changed, but has the mentality changed? That is more important. There is I would like to inform all of you here that there is after Nirbhaya, a section was introduced into the uh, the CRPC. Now, CRPC is something which governs our processes. It's a criminal procedure code. So this criminal procedure code has been included, one section has been included, which is called 166. Now, in 166 A, uh, if a police officer refuses, if a police officer sorry, it is in the, I think in the IPC they have included as part of the criminal procedure, that 166A, which says that if a police officer does not register a complaint of a woman again related to a sexual assault, IPC 166A, then a case can be registered against him. So procedures are now being smoothened to make sure that women's word gets into the complaint. Nobody can tell her, no, you write like this, you write like that. And if he doesn't register the FIR in 24 hours, there can be criminal action against him. So this is very, very strict. If you remind anybody and say, see, there was a case against me and disobedience by a public servant, like, yeah, Shruti, thank you very much. You have correctly pointed out that, so it is an offense. So this is the kind of change, So policemen also cannot deny on their women fancy that, sorry, the police cannot I'm sorry, I think I lost.
I think your video went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So I think that part one has to understand that a lot of change has occurred, but has it changed mentalities of society on a societal level? That is more important. I always say it is more important. How many women are telling their are able to tell, I'm saying not telling, but are able to tell their sons that be a better man, be a better this thing. So these are very, very I think important issues, because laws were there, laws have become more stringent. The ability of a woman to go to a police station, and by the way, in a lot of states there are all women police stations also, but all this will not make a difference unless registration happens. If women should be comfortable about going, complaining, and getting this thing. Yeah,
Hi, ma'am. We have a couple of more questions.
Shruti is giving a lot of information.
Yes. No, but we have a couple of more questions. Is it okay if we extend the time a bit, Chayaji?
Okay, fine, no problem.
Great. Thank you.
So, Tina ma'am, you had a question?
Yes. So Chaya ma'am, let me start by saying I have the highest respect for you and your body of work, like everybody else here. You must have met a fair amount of criminals in your line of work. And I just want to know how many percentage of criminals that you meet are like the ones that were involved in the Nirbhaya case. Are they all as blasé about what they did and not repentant? Or are they any better? Are they as bad, the rest of them?
Again, I think Shruti can help us with statistics, because if you take out statistics about, I'm sorry I didn't answer one question, one issue, last question, about crime rates. I think Shruti, if you are so well conversant with all this, probably you can inform them about crime rates. Please check out crime rates in US. Check about crime against women, rapes in Europe, and then you will understand the difference and where India stands. So making a city in India taboo, it just serves a very ulterior purpose on a whole. Secondly, I have statistics to show, and you can check the National Crime Records Bureau statistics. You know, to answer this question, uh, all rapes are not that heinous. Okay, or in all rapes, women don't die. They don't get such injuries where they will die. So obviously, they cannot be. And if you know that earlier there was no death sentence with the rape. It happened because the girl died because of other reasons. It was also proved to be a dacoity, and that is why the dacoity with death is, it comes with a death penalty. So death of the victim. So that was added. But per se, rape never had death penalty, which is now true. Now it has, but that was also a change that occurred. So what I was getting as that number of cases. Now, if you talk about only rape cases, I have dealt with a lot of rape cases, criminals. Um, First of all, I can easily say that 80 to 90% are known. Okay, so the girl will know the perpetrator will know the girl. It can be incest, it can be somebody you know, some acquaintance, everything. And um and then
Very
the,
scary.
I'm reading Shruti's messages also. So and the second part is that, the remaining 20% where, they are blind cases where the woman doesn't know. I think 20 also I'm putting on a higher side. They're much less, because it's the rare cases when the woman doesn't know who has raped. Some child has been picked up from somewhere and raped or something like that, or a woman has been dragged around and raped. But usually, in most cases, this thing is known. So when it is known, then what happens is that it's not that they have that mentality like the ones these guys had. These guys were exceptional. They knew that if we strip them and we don't leave a strip of cloth on them, then probably we've hurt them enough. They will die of cold, and probably there will be no identity mark. You understand? Because sometimes your these labels on your clothes can also help. So when somebody goes missing and a case is registered, then what happens? You look, say, what was he wearing? You say. Now here, Nirbhaya and her friend were not wearing anything. So they knew they were following a particular modus operandi where they made sure that they were not wearing anything when they were dropped. And they thought that probably they've hurt them so much that now they will die in a matter of few minutes. Second, it was not in there where they had picked them up from. They had picked them up from Vasant Vihar, and this was a good 10-15 kilometers away. So point is that they made sure that it will be difficult for police to connect the body with the missing person or to think. But in this case, it never happened like that. We were fortunate enough to have even Nirbhaya give us a very detailed statement for a few days. And of course, her friend also gave statements. So my issue is, when I was answering, that all people are not that sick like these people. So they deserved the death penalty they got. Thank you.
So, you've been saying that Shruti has been pointing out a few things, and Shruti actually works with Nirbhaya Jyoti Trust, and she is very closely associated with Asha ji and Badrinath ji, and she has joined us today, and she would also like to say something. So, Shruti, please.
Thank you, Damini. Shyamam, actually, Ashaji wanted to be part of the discussion today, though she's not seen Delhi Crime, but she just wanted to congratulate you and, for all the good work that you've done for the case, and extend her gratitude, which unfortunately she's not been able to do so today. And I'm representing
She
them.
doesn't need to extend gratitude. We were doing our jobs, Shruti.
And that's the message actually people need to understand. This case, Actually speaking, the case reached to its closure only because at this very first step, the police was able to conduct all its layer of jobs really with complete authenticity. And that's one thing that people need to know, because we get lost and we get consumed with the legal process and procedures, and we don't know where was whom to shift blame to. And many a times you come to the receiving end. And why I say you or the fraternity is because when there was another severe case that happened in India, and the four people were convicted by police themselves. There are several theories, but I happened to have interaction with the gentleman who did it, and he said, "You know what? I am not waiting. I am not Chhaya Sharma who's going to wait for 7 years for justice. My credit will go, my hard work will go, and those people need to be punished." And hence, I did what I did. Give me a very different context to it, but yes, I did hear that part of the story as well. For few people who are there who've seen Delhi crime, a little thing that I came to know while the interesting part was that Asha ji and Badrinath ji, they don't sign any media documents because the kind of betrayal they've received from media, and they would want to, they acknowledge the kind of hard work they have done, but adding to the dimensions which were not required. And like Chaya ji also said that there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of exaggeration to the fact, or disruption to the fact that happened, made them extremely unhappy. So the unheard part of Delhi crime was that when Rishi reached out to parents and they refused to kind of sign up the document and give consent to the story was slightly changed, and the entire part where people are highlighting that the brutality was revealed, no, it has not been revealed in the case. Just go back and check, watch Delhi crime. No part of Nirbhaya is being highlighted. She was just so shown as a victim, and she, I think, not beyond 4 scene is what she is being executed, representing either Nirbhaya or parents. The story or the entire script was made customized to help understand the good work which the police has done, and that remains intact. How I lived the story a little bit about is that I didn't watch the series, but while I was watching what happened to real Nirbhaya, I heard it from the father.
I know it's very, very tough. And like I said, a lot of us could not even stomach the movie. So I cannot imagine the people that actually had to hear it firsthand or went through it. But I know we are always out of time. But I want to end with this question, Chayaji. The successful investigation, Nirbhaya case, has there been any changes to the methods that the police is using to solve such cases? Has anything changed since 2012 so that we can get faster justice?
Um, First, I'd like to just address one thing which Shruti was mentioning.
Oh,
I'm like dying
please,
to
please
speak
do.
on that.
Go ahead.
Uh, After this Telangana incident, a lot of people called me and said, "Why couldn't you have done the same thing?" So believe you, I could have done it. It was so easy. One trip to Tihar jail and we would have stopped the vehicle. We didn't even need to overturn the vehicle and we would have done it. But I do not believe in vigilante justice. Why? Because I do want to follow the due process of law. Tomorrow it can be your brother who's an accused in a rape case. If he doesn't get justice, if he doesn't go via the due process of law, he will not even have a hearing. In the case of Telangana, Shruti will agree with me if she knows all the details of the case. Till today, I'm not sure whether the guys were right, whether the guys were the same guys who actually did it or not. So until unless, because you never gave them even a chance to go up to the first level of court, forget about the 3-4 levels of judicial process that one has to go through. So therefore, I do not agree with it. As a police officer, as a person who has worked in the National Human Rights Commission, it's a it's tougher to go through my way. It's tougher to go through my way because it means that at every point you can fail. At every point, all your hard work that you've done up till now can go down the drain. But it's so easy to just pick up something, and so it's every to each his own. Sabka asman alag alag hota hai. So I think he did what he felt right, and there were people who were making him a demigod. I wouldn't want to become a goddess at all. in this case. I am happy being a unpopular policewoman, and I'm happy with that. To answer your question, ma'am, uh, uh, the main thing that I feel is that, what we needed was a change in attitude. That has come. Attitude change in police has come. They know that there is a section which will, if they do not register a case, it will, hamper them. Earlier, what was happening was women will come to the police station, and they will not be heard. Now they are being heard. Secondly, a lot more women have become more confident about coming to the police station and reporting cases, coming to senior officers and reporting. That is really, really important. The other issue is about working out this thing. What we have exhibited through our solving is that we've created a benchmark where we have explained that how one IO may not be able to every time solve a case which is pan India, or which is, where if these five people had run away into five directions, it was like looking for a needle in the haystack. And you know how crowded India is, and then not knowing unknown men, especially the juvenile, had no identity. He had no ICard, he had no cell phone. So how was one supposed to trace him except traditional policing? So teamwork is important. Setting up of a SIT is important. Involvement of senior officers is important. So all these things, became recognized with our work. And a lot of people are quoting our, how we made a charge sheet in 18 days, which stood the scrutiny of all judicial reviews. And the best part was that, it's not as if the every team of ours was successful. Some people went, they failed because they went somewhere, it was a wild goose chase for them, and they came back. But it was not as if that was not important. When you're working in a team, every man's contribution is important, because there is a list which you are cutting out, sitting in the room and saying, okay, मेरी टीम यहाँ गई थी, नहीं पता चला, या ये व्यक्ति वो नहीं है, काटो, ये बस नहीं है, काटो. So negating of a evidence is also very important, because same evidence can then come in the court, and then it can be put in your face, and they can say ki, this is the thing that we need you to reconfirm. So our work was thorough, and that I think everybody has appreciated. Senior officers appreciated. I was part of making an SOP in the the Bureau of Police Research, BPRND. They have involved me in making a very detailed SOP, and about how rape cases have to be investigated, why we need a SIT, what are the processes one must follow. So all those things have happened. But most importantly, attitude change has happened. Now everybody understands, if we ignore a case, we will probably land up in a soup. In terms of police, in terms of people, they have become more confident in approaching police and understanding that if we don't take you see, after Nirbhaya, a lot of the number of cases jumped, not because number of cases happening, but people started reporting it. They stopped taking, even smaller, tolerating even smaller cases. So that shift is very important. And once that shift comes, I think it is very, very important that, we understand that it has to go on a societal level. Once it happens, things will definitely change. It's just that we're not ready to accept change. That is, I think, the main issue. And you're talking about processes. A lot of people, invite me to speak on how we did it. What are the I'm sharing with them a lot of SOPs that we followed, how as a DCP I involved myself, and how, it was a victim-centric investigation. So you can't say that the victim or its family is at any time put aside. They are always in focus. So if you keep them in focus, then they will be with you till the last day. And we have to be with them till the last day. You can't say ki acha pakad liye, ab jail bhej diya, now I will not even pick up their call. So that doesn't happen.
But thank you. A big salute to you. I think all of us, I mean, really, really do appreciate, and a heartfelt gratitude from all of us. Damini, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you everyone for joining in. And it has been such an eye-opening, kind of a revelation, and everyone on chat has been saying the same thing, the honest views that you have shared with us. And there's so many things that we wouldn't know otherwise. That was really nice. And we thank you to, that you came on our platform to share your views on it, on the movie, on the case, and everything. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And stay tuned to Sipping Thoughts. We'll bring in more interesting discussions and more debates and everything as well. So follow us on Facebook and Instagram and our website, and stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Chhaya ji.